Just what I expected. DNF. Seriously, anyone who manages to finish this book deserves an award. Well, hand me the award because I'm going to read it again. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I am going to be reading 1-star reviews on my 5-star reads today. So clearly I decided to put myself through some emotional damage. I'm okay with it though because I love that reading is just such a different experience for different people, and sometimes 1-star reviews are just so funny anyways, even if you love the book, and sometimes they have some truth in them as well. Why not do that today? Why not? Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is Verity. I read Verity almost a year ago now. I remember devouring this book. It kind of manipulates your mind and tries to make you figure out what's happening without giving you the answer, which was just really fun. I really enjoyed it. Okay, I mean, if you like sex scenes drier than a biology textbook, sure, go off, I guess. I don't remember the spice in that book, but I remember there being like maybe 1 or 2 spice scenes in it, and it was a little bit odd given the situation, but it didn't really bother me too much. I remember thinking it was a little bit weird, like I wouldn't do this if I was the main female character, but sure, sis. I hadn't had another 5-star after that book for a while, and the next one was Love in Other Words by Christina. Okay, this is the only 1-star I'm able to find so far. I feel like the boyfriend was just there to keep the story going and keep them apart. Also, the reason they stopped talking was poorly written to the fact that it kind of disgusts me. I think the love story was cute, but it wasn't an absolute favorite for me. So I will agree with this one. If you've never read this, Love in Other Words is a second chance romance, and we go between past and present. It's also childhood friends to lovers. They live next door to each other, yada yada yada. When they are adults, the female main character actually has a boyfriend at the time, and I too agree that that boyfriend was literally just there to stir some things up and to kind of keep them apart. I felt like the boyfriend was really pointless, and I usually feel that way about most romance books. Like if there is a boyfriend or a girlfriend in the situation before the 2 main characters get together, I just think most of the time it could be a little bit tacky. I don't like boyfriends or girlfriends in the mix when we have a romance novel. This one I could definitely find a 1-star review on, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I know so many people are probably like, people who have read this book are like, girl, how did you read this book and rate it a 5-star? It was just good for me. I really loved it. It was my first fantasy I think that I read this year. It's more of a historical fantasy. It's about a girl who, she basically makes a deal with darkness. Anytime Addie leaves a room or goes behind like a wall or something like that, she is forgotten. They have no recollection of her. She's also immortal, so she's living a very slow, sad, lonely life, and I just really loved how the story was told because I felt like as you're reading it, you're understanding how she's feeling. This person says, no, just no. Did we all read the same book? Like seriously, I want to know how these major discrepancies are possible. Let's get this straight. This book deserves nothing of its hype. It's bland, it's boring, it's repetitive, it's stupid, hollow, and so pointless. And F it, I'll rate this 1-star. Imagine a life for 300 years where no one remembers who you are. You can't have a home, you can't have an identity, friends, relationships, any of that. Your life is just gonna look the same every single day. So I think the story was told in a realistic way, in the sense that like if this happened to someone, that's exactly how you would feel. This is the one that I'm most nervous about because I think I will defend this with my life, which is Magnolia Parks. Look, I understand why some people don't like Magnolia Parks. This is not a romantic book in my opinion. It really does touch on love and how you can hurt people that you love. That whole like tug of war experience, that push and pull of like, do I be with this person and risk potentially hurting myself again, or do I walk away from this? But it's so hard to walk away because you just have this deep connection with that person. People experience those things in real life. I'm ready to fight someone. This first 1-star that I found says, everyone who says this book is a British version of Gossip Girl must be hating the show, because why then would you insult it that much? 1-star purely for me for finishing this and vibing to Drake's songs while reading. Don't blame me, his songs about being a man whore are so good. Isn't Chuck Bass a little bit controversial himself? Oh, there is a 1-star for Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. I am shocked. Why are we wasting so many pages on a relationship we all know is doomed in a book that isn't even supposed to be about them? Is this Daisy's book or not? Okay. I did say this book should have been called Julian Hates the Great Undoing because, for one, the Great Undoing refers to something to do with Julian, but also I feel like Julian carried the entire book. His story was the sole reason I read this book. I don't really care for Daisy and Christian's story personally. I'm not attached to them as characters. Like, I did start to get a little bit attached around the end of The Great Undoing. I feel like Daisy was not even the main character in her own book. I didn't even care about Daisy's scenes at all. So I'm gonna have to agree with that one. Someone else said, we waited so long for this book to be totally disappointing. We don't get anything we don't already know in The Long Way Home. Again, I will agree with this one. I'm not agreeing with the disappointment, but I am definitely agreeing that this book basically takes place at the exact time as The Long Way Home, which is the book you read before The Great Undoing. So you are getting a ton of repeat scenes, but there is still a little bit more to it. You're kind of getting someone else's perspective of these scenes. Okay, I have Happy Place by Emily Henry. I would love to reread this book to see if I still feel the way that I did when I read this book, because when I read it, I remember wanting to reread it immediately after finishing it. I remember loving this book. I can see why people don't like it, you know? The first one that I found says, Miss Henry, can you explain how Shoddy is going to pay those loans off? Yeah, girl, her income with that might be a little tough, but you know what? I am a supporter of following your dreams. I'm a supporter of, it's not always about the money. But someone commented saying, yeah, for real, in this economy, yeah, it's kind of tough in this economy to follow your dreams. It's fiction, so like really it's not a big deal. I have another one that says, no offense, but are you guys lying? And then someone commented saying, right, did they all read a different book? Maybe I was lying. I'm sorry if I was part of the group that was lying. This one I definitely want to find a 1-star, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. So many people told me that I was gonna rate A Court of Thorns and Roses like a 4 or a 3, and like it's slow, but just push yourself through it. I did not have to push myself through that book one bit. I enjoy that book. Every second of that book I was enjoying it. This person's 1-star review says, I'm a second away from dousing myself in gasoline and lighting myself on fire just so I never have to look at this book again. That's a bit wild. Some of these 1-star reviews get a bit unhinged, but you know what, if that's how you felt, by all means, sure. I don't even know what to say to that. That's crazy. Okay, I definitely want to read this one because I see ACOTAR Drinking Game 1-star review. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ACOTAR Drinking Game. What you need: a copy of ACOTAR, an alcoholic beverage of your choice, 1 or more friends to play with. Seriously, don't do this alone. How it works: drink every time you read the words. A shiver went down my spine. My knees buckled. In a heartbeat / a heartbeat later. I would never be able to paint it. Male or female, smirk, snarl, prowl, purr. Okay, look, the male and female is said a lot because they are fae in this book, so they are not considered men or women. They're not humans, so they call them males and females. The whole, like the prowls and purrs and snarls, I don't know how to picture that in my head, or I don't know how to hear that in my head. Every time I read like fantasy with fae and they growl, I'm like, do they actually sound like animals? Like, I don't know. Then it says, take a shot every time Tamlin or Rhysand's overwhelming sexiness is mentioned. The word claim is used in connection to sex. Feyre uses ableist slurs and blames her dad for being disabled. Bonus: finish your drink when Feyre is harassed by Tamlin or Rhysand, but in a sexy way, so it's okay. Feyre complains about how difficult that ridiculous riddle is. I'm sorry, but I honestly couldn't get that riddle, so I'm with Feyre on that. That one was good, so I can't even critique that one. This one, I know I can find a 1-star because a lot of people don't like this book, but it also has a 4.45 on Goodreads, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. I know a lot of people do not like Nesta. That book had amazing character development, in my opinion, and I thought that it really shed light on women overcoming trauma. This person says, I feel the same way about Sarah J. Maas being lauded as a woman who writes strong, empowered female heroes. The same way I feel about Ivanka Trump being heralded for championing women's rights. Like, how? You don't get credit for doing something you haven't done, and all Maas's characters do is serve to get boned and rescued every few pages by a guy with powerful back muscles. You know, feminism works by having the occasional uneffable man character too, right? I feel like no one has paid attention to these books. They just don't know that feminism also entails having a freaking male character that isn't just defined by how enormous there is. A Court of Silver Flames had the most spice in this entire series. The spice was kind of mild for the first 3 books. Let's start by saying Nesta was a smut reader. Like, in the book, she literally spent a lot of time reading smut. She talked about the fact that she loved reading smut, so she was quite the sexual woman. Now we're going to read a 1 star for Fourth Wing, which I know 100% I could find. If I had $1 million for every cliche in this book, of which there are a multitude, I'd still regret spending $20 on all 498 pages of this mess. As much as this book is a 5 star for me, I'm going to have to agree that this book had a lot of cliches in it when it came to fantasy books. I did say when I read Fourth Wing that I felt like it was almost a little obvious that this was Rebecca Yarros's first fantasy book. It felt like she kind of took like everyone's favorite things from different fantasy books, gathered it up and threw it into this book. I did feel that, I'm not gonna lie, but I still love the book nonetheless. Angle might be different. My memory card was running out of space. Some of y'all about to be real mad at me. This is awful. Also, if this is enemies to lovers, then oh, how mighty have fallen. I'd rather stick molten hot needles in my eyes than read the sequel. I'm gonna agree a little bit with this one. Yes, this is said to be an enemies to lovers, but I don't think it's 2 enemies to lovers. I do think they overcame the enemies part earlier than expected, if you get what I mean. But that didn't bother me. Like, I didn't read it because I wanted enemies to lovers anyway. I hope these 1 star reviews don't ruin my experience for these books, because it's a little true. The last one I'm gonna read is for The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. Oh my god, I think I read a review from this person already. It might be the exact same person who did a 1 star on another book, so maybe you're just a negative Nancy. I'm sorry. The only good thing this book did was remind me to dye my hair pink again. I'm also desperate to figure out what people see in Jax. I don't know what he is. He doesn't have any personality. Zilch, zero, nada. All he does is eat apples. Arguably the most boring fruit out there, so it's fitting for him, I guess. Don't even get me started about Evangeline. It's a wonder I remember her name. She also has no personality. Unless being dumb and naive is a personality. I have met 5-year-olds smarter than this. Her brain is empty. This girl is shocked by every obvious thing that happens to her. I said that in one of my vlogs before. A dude called Killer McKill could come up to Evangeline and be like, I will kill you. And 10 pages later, she will go, I can't believe Killer McKill tried to kill me. I'm so shocked no one saw it coming. Please, I'd ask other characters to donate brain cells to her, but the other law isn't much smarter and they definitely don't have brain cells to spare. I will say that I feel like we don't get to know much about Jax. He's so secretive, so that's probably why we don't know much about him. If you've watched my other videos, you already know how I feel about Evangeline. I'm not a big fan of her character. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my god, I need them to like get together. I don't really care. Personally, I don't care. I just want a happy ending for Jax. That's all I care about. Those are some 1 star reviews on books that I love. With a lot of 1 stars, they do have a point with what they're saying, and they could be really funny sometimes. I think my favorite one out of all of them has to be the ACOTAR one, because the drinking game is so real. Everyone has their taste, everyone has their opinions, but that was fun. You guys let me know if any of these books are 1 or 5 stars for you. Have any of you ever rated a book 1 star? I feel like it's just so rare to rate a book 1 star, and it's so hard to do that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely enjoy doing like a little bit of a chill video with you guys. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.